The liberation of Kuwait has begun.
Nobody's getting Starboard.
CNN has been told that
CNN has become a primary source of
Listening to the CNN reporters who are watching it.
Oh, Jacob, CNN reports. CNN. CNN is CNN
On CNN.
Now, more than ever, stay with CNN, the world's news leader.
I'm now going to show you what it looked like from our night scope camera during those air raids. It didn't last very long, no more than 30 minutes of intense firing. During the attacks, cruise missiles flew directly over the capital, but of course we were unable to see or indeed hear them.
Through my literature review, the significance of the CNN effect was argued, and what effect has now taken its place. Scholars such as Jackson and Gowing believe the phenomenon is real, but it does not serve as a legitimate drive behind policymaking. Scholars believe there are some influence where economic and political stakes are not high. I decided to interview recent graduate Stephen Burns of his standpoints and how closely related they are to my findings. Stephen Burns graduated from Auburn University with a degree in English and a minor in history. He does not affiliate with any political party. What do you think the CNN effect is?
A fallacy.
Expand.
I think it's a perception that media has influence on policy, humanitarian or otherwise, and I think that's just it's untrue. It's believing that the media has more power than it actually does. The government's going to make its decisions based on a lot more than film footage. It's going to be based on intelligence. It's going to be based on prior actions. It's all part of a strategy, and they have pretty much planned the war from beginning to end when it starts.
So you do not think that the effects of the CNN effect were real in terms of policies being made?
I think in terms of making the general populace aware of what was going on, it did a good job. There, it really highlighted certain things, especially that were omitted in Vietnam or prior wars. There wasn't that big filter, but again, I don't think it had enough influence to actually change anything, change policies. I don't think Bush seeing a soldier dragged through the streets did anything. I think it made for some good television.
So you think that the CNN effect, to a degree, was a sort of reality TV for citizens back home?
Oh, definitely. Which is a good thing, because it kind of opened citizens' eyes to what was actually happening over there. There wasn't this just like we're America and everything we do and every action we take is benevolent and great. That illusion disappeared, I think, due to the CNN effect. But the CNN effect only affected the population's viewpoint. It didn't really affect how the government acted.
Okay, and then today, do you think the CNN effect is still relevant?
I really don't think so. Because we have even more real-time stuff. Journalists are tweeting things and,
So you think this is due to technology, that it's not the same as it was?
Yeah, and I think the 24-hour news cycle has kind of become a joke. It's definitely just hype and entertainment. There's no real groundbreaking journalism anymore, because the real journalism is being taken to Twitter and, well, not really Facebook, but real-time journalism is what's really the next bastion of the CNN effect. I guess the Twitter effect is what that's called now.
Do you think the Twitter effect will have any influence on upcoming encounters in the war?
I think more so than the CNN effect.
Why?
Because it's easier for people to get behind someone tweeting something, a journalist being on the front lines. Because the CNN effect, especially during the Gulf War, it was the military reporting to CNN that edited it, that put it on broadcast television, that gave it to the people. There's still filter stages. There's still perspectives that can sway or spin that can be put on certain things. whereas Twitter is seen as from the source. You know, there's no two ways about it. This is how it happened. Be that an illusion or not, that's the perception. And I think that a grassroots campaign has more ability to sway policy than broadcast television.
Stephen Burns, like the majority of scholars our researched, agreed on the lack of influence of seen in effect hot in the war. Burns takes a more military standpoint in terms of how policies were decided and carried out in the war. I find it interesting that Burns and other peers believe the Twitter effect will have a more impact on today's war than the seen in effect did in the Gulf War. I think future scholars should look more into what the Twitter effect is and will become. Will it be involvement within the government? Will it be a soldier or citizen's voice? I believe the possibilities are endless with the progression in technology for today.